Bear down, Chicago Bears. The question of the day is, does Caleb Williams make the Chicago Bears a contender? We're going to break some of this down, give you an idea. To be fair, most of this at this point is speculative at best. We don't know the talent. We see the talent on the field for Caleb Williams, but we don't know what adversity is going to look like to Caleb Williams. And that's the important part when you're evaluating a quarterback. It's fine to go look at Caleb Williams and see, Notre Dame, that 3 interceptions, and you can decide, well, I don't like Caleb Williams. But there were plenty of brilliant plays that happened in that game that we would ignore if we did that. The 3 interceptions is not a testimony of who he is. That's just a bad game. Eli Manning had four. I'm sorry, Peyton Manning had 30. I want to say 31 or 28 interceptions in his first season, getting used to playing at the NFL level. So everybody's entitled to a bad game. Aaron Rodgers had 4 interception games. So those things do happen. Now, the unfair portion is you don't really get to see a testament of what this guy's character is against real competition because the Pac-12, they don't have real competition. Now they do have Oregon. Oregon, even if they're the best college football team or one of the best college football teams, they're not on the level of a halfway decent NFL team. Okay. Several of the players from Oregon, several of the players from all of the best teams combine to become these NFL teams. So you don't know what that unrelenting pressure is. You don't know how he's going to respond. You don't know how that adversity will affect him. But everything that you've seen so far from Caleb Williams checks the boxes that the Bears need to see checked. The ones that make them say, well, you know what? This is the guy for us. And consensus right now is basically that Caleb Williams gives the Bears a shot at having a future elite quarterback. So let's pull this up. You guys check this out if you haven't already. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe button, the bell to be notified of future content on the way in. Leave a comment down below letting me know, how do you feel about Caleb Williams? Is Caleb Williams the guy that's going to lead the Bears to the Super Bowl? Or was this just a horrible move overall to move on from Justin Fields? I don't like that. Like the more I have to deal with it and I can't control it, the more accepting I get of this. All right. So, we have to accept the way that it is. And here's the other part. EV Warrior, good morning to everybody, by the way. I hope you're having a good morning. EV Warrior says the future is the key word, not contenders in the first year. I don't know that that's not the case because we said the same thing about Patrick Mahomes. He sat his first year, so it's not really a fair comparison. He sat his first year, but in his second year, won a Super Bowl, right? Brock Purdy was in the Super Bowl in his first year. And we have to assume in some way, in some small way, Caleb Williams is as good or better than Brock Purdy. We have to assume that at some level because it's not even close when you gauge out their performances at the college level. Clearly, Caleb Williams was a superior athlete, and hopefully, if this has built itself around to the benefit of this team, if this has done this, then and we've done this really good, but there we go. And I mean, I think that I don't think that that's a fair statement because I think you're looking at the first part of the last season and I think that the Bears are a much better team than than what you're giving them credit for right now. And let me just point something out. Let me just point something out, and I want to like address EV Warrior. Anybody who thinks like EV Warrior, because I agree there were some problems, but the problems were at the beginning of the season. We whiffed on some games that we should have won. Middle of the season, we whiffed on a few games that we should have won. The end of the season, we whiffed on some games that we should have won. All of them for different reasons. At the first part of the season, the defense was obviously not ready to stop anybody, was not looking very good. They ended up firing the defensive coordinator for reasons we still don't know. And Matt Eberflus took over, and suddenly it became a very good, not great, but very good defense with some pieces and components missing that were not performing optimally. Well, those seem to have been at least in part addressed. And there's some pieces still in this draft that we might need to throw in that will make this team a little bit better. And the fact that they're all working together for another period of time. if this secondary is as good as it looks on paper, then it will give a little bit more time for the pass rush to get into the quarterback. If it is, then that suddenly becomes a very, very good defensive team. Now, I don't want to say that they're massively upgraded, but they are better. This was a top defense for the last half of the season. And I mean, a top scoring defense, the top scoring defense for the second half of the season. So you have to take, you have to take this into parts because there are pieces here that are not exactly fitting into place. And number two, are you trying to say that everybody is that we're not as good on offense as we were the previous year with the addition of Keenan Allen, with the addition of Gerald Everett, with the addition of a better center there to play, with the addition of all of these other people? Oh my God, fuck the Vikings and Bo Nix. Come on, man. What's going on, Chris? So anyway, I think that we're underselling the potential of these Bears. And look, the Bears could have been 3 easy wins. Let's call it Cleveland. We should have won Cleveland. We should have won that first Detroit game, and we should have won against the Denver Broncos. If you just take those 3 simple wins right there, then Chicago makes the playoff. Green Bay doesn't make the playoffs. You mean to tell me that you don't think that being able to throw the ball a little bit better with, say, Caleb Williams than Justin Fields? Now, obviously, there was a problem. So, but you don't think that at some point doing this makes the team a little bit better in context and puts us into a position where all we have to do is win a couple of games. All we have to do is just win a few games. Like, we're not as bad as what we felt like for that season. We were frustrated because we saw the game. We saw what Luke Getsy was calling versus the quarterback that he had, and it wasn't matching up. That's why we're frustrated. That's why that's why we don't like what we're seeing. So this is going to give an opportunity for everything to be a little bit better. I think that this team becomes much more than what we're giving it credit for right now. So anyway, the former Heisman Trophy winner from USC can now make every single throw, whether he has a clean pocket or multiple defenders in his face. A good way to gauge respect for any player is to hear what the opposition has to say. Washington lineman Zion Tupuola-Fatai said that I think I wouldn't say I was in awe of the moment or anything like that, but I definitely thought that he was a specimen to behold. I remember after the first drive, we came off, and me and Braylon Trice were like, "Did you see that guy's legs? He's super talented. I think he sees the field in a very unique way." So these are people who are playing against him. Um, uh, his ability to capitalize on off-scripted plays to generate explosives through the air does have a Mahomes-esque feel. Off-platform, sidearm, throwing on the move, Williams has all the tools in that toolbox. Of course, he isn't a perfect prospect and has things that he must work on when he gets into the league. Like Fields, he has a tendency to hold on to the ball too long. This might be a problem again. And he elects to go for the big play instead of taking the check down at times. This is coaching, and this is Kerry Joseph and Shane Waldron in this system. Can they make sure that he doesn't have these tendencies that bad? That's where coaching comes into play. The Bears have put together an offensive staff that is more than capable of nurturing a rookie quarterback. So the question now is this a super team? Is this are the Chicago Bears the team that's going to do what you want as a fan? And I got a feeling, guys, look, I'm not saying that this is the Philadelphia Eagles of a few years ago, but I am saying that this is the Chicago Bears of right now, and they were much better than they were given credit for last year. They did. I mean, look, we can't average 195 yards passing per game. That's crazy, right? We need 250 at least. We didn't get that. And even if we're the number one rushing defense, if you hone in on the rush, you're not going to score a lot of points. It just doesn't work that way, unfortunately, in the NFL. So we will see how this team balls out towards the end. But now the questions here are now, what about the character of Caleb Williams? What does that look like? And we've heard crazy things. By the way, EV Ware, one more thing that I wanted to say about that. I think that the problem is the Bears are set up for the playoffs no matter what. So I think that they're going to make the playoffs. Can they win a Super Bowl? Can they get out there? Can they pull the Can they pull that off? I don't know that they can. I'm not really worried about that. I'm just worried about them getting into the playoffs and looking like a team that does what they're supposed to be able to do. By the way, guys, make sure that you hit the like button. It doesn't cost you anything to hit that like button and to share this content so that other people come in here and we can have that conversation and we can talk about the Chicago Bears. So please make sure on your way in that you hit that like button. It won't hurt your finger if you do that. But the other thing I wanted to say is I don't like the fact, and by the way, RG3 came out with another video where he's digging in on his opinion. And the reason he kind of outlined now, he's like, here's the thing that the Chicago Bears do every single time, whether it be Justin Fields or Mitchell Trubisky or any other quarterback that comes in here, is they give them a lame duck coach, and it's failed every single time. So what are they doing right now? Matt Eberflus is a lame duck coach. Is he going to be here after this year? We don't know the answer to that. We would like to think that the answer to that is yes, but we don't know the answer to that. We know that he has to perform. We know that they've under delivered to this point, and we know that there has to be a moment in time where you say, you know what, this is not working as a quarterback or as a coach, and we're going to have to move on. So now, what do you do if you're in this situation? And so it's a fair question to ask. And RG3 with his hot take, which I don't think is correct, but it is important that we're able to ask that question. Like, if you're Caleb Williams, do you want to come into a lame duck situation? And not only is it a lame duck for Matt Eberflus, it could be for Ryan Poles. Even if we like the way that he's building the team, it doesn't matter what we think. It matters what Kevin Warren thinks. And I think that Kevin Warren likes the way the team is developing, likes the way the team is being built. But I think he also it's fair enough that he can ask questions and have problems with some of the things that have happened, like the trade of Justin Fields. And I think he liked Justin Fields. I think he wanted to see Justin Fields succeed. So I think that there are questions that he's going to have about this and Ryan Poles. And will he move on? I think Ryan Poles not his guy. Matt Eberflus not his guy. So, we do have to ask the question, like, who's your guy? And how long before you get to your guy? You know what I mean? Ryan Poles could become that guy. But as of this moment, I mean, if they don't win, if they don't get better, if they don't look, if we don't get an introduction to the playoffs, if you saw the product on the field last year and you're telling me that there's no chance for the Chicago Bears to get into the playoffs again this year, even on the strength of a quarterback change or the weakness of a quarterback change, if you're telling me that you don't think that's going to happen, I would say that you're nuts. There's no way that that's not going to happen. I think that the Bears are a playoff team, but and the other thing is King Booker World has a very important take here. Before we guess what they will be doing, we need a damn true center. Well, Coleman Shelton represents that true center. And by the way, I did see some stuff that fought back King Booker on Coleman Shelton, saying that, well, he didn't grade out very well. He graded out as well as Lloyd Cushenberry. His overall rating was a 74. Lloyd Cushenberry was a 76 in the grading. So yeah, he didn't grade out as well as Lloyd Cushenberry, but think of just a few moments, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, we were all like, well, we get Lloyd Cushenberry, we're going to the goddamn Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to have this great ass team because of this one guy as our center, and we would have a solid center. Not everybody, by the way, but some people were saying, like, that's going to be the difference maker. Well, we got a difference maker, and we got Ryan Bates as a backup. And I posit this, that Ryan Bates and Coleman Shelton together and combined are better than Dan Feeney, Lucas Patrick, and Cody Whitehair at this point at the center position. Cody Whitehair, much more suited for guard, but and by the way, graded out very well as a guard in his spot relief. I do want to say so. We'll see what happens, and in fact, it's very tough to reach in and get Jackson Powers Johnson. By the way, when I do my mock draft today, you guys are gonna be surprised with the results. I think I did. This was an interesting one. Okay. And by the way, starting Monday, we'll be moving from the 9:30 a.m. time slot to the 10:30 a.m. time slot. I'm going to push it back about one more hour to give me more time to get ready for the show every day, to provide you guys with as much content as I can possibly do. So, but let's get into it deep here. So the issue here was Caleb Williams checking the person boxes. After USC's pro day, Caleb Williams had high fives, handshakes, hugs, and daps seemingly from everyone, from his teammates to NFL scouts to NFL assistant coaches to USC staff members to his marketing team to those who want to draft him. In that order, that includes Trojan head coach Lincoln Riley, Washington Commanders general manager Adam Peters, Bears GM Ryan Poles, and coach Matt Eberflus. It was all captured by the NFL Network's broadcast. But when Williams went back to his teammates for more handshake and hugs, one lineman jumped on his back and embraced him. Center Justin Dietich wrestled with Williams and took him to the ground. There was more. All of those interactions with his USC teammates were arguably more important than what Williams did with his 50 throws during his pro day. NFL Network analysts Bucky Brooks and Daniel Jeremiah, two former scouts, watched it all live from the studio. It's significant. Oh, by the way, that was it's significant. I have a new studio, by the way, guys. So I have a new screen up here, but I have the wrong cord for it. So I got all this stuff here. So I'm kind of I gotta finish. I gotta remodel the studio. It's significant. The quarterback position is not just one of talent, but it's one of communication and connectivity. The person who is QB1, he has to be able to bring all different types of people on the team together. And normally it is a unifier because when the quarterback is the leader, they all kind of follow his direction. Well, what you saw with this interaction from his teammates from USC is that he was beloved by his teammates. You saw everyone genuinely happy to see him, genuinely happy to see him having the big stage and succeed on the big stage. And that's important. When you're the Bears, it's something you continuously take notes on. Whether you're an area scout watching him live early in the season, the cross-check scout who visits the USC campus later in the year, or if you're Matt Eberflus himself, who was standing not far behind Williams when he went through his pro day with his teammates. Everything a quarterback does and doesn't do is important to a team's evaluation. As Poles has promised, the Bears are in the middle of evaluating the person. I've seen quarterbacks in these settings, and they kind of have their team of people. They have their own private team, not their college team that they kind of stay with, and they don't really mix and interact as much with their college teammates. And that's not what you see here, especially when coming into a situation like the one they have in Chicago, where you had a quarterback who was incredibly popular with his teammates. I think I would find comfort if you're the Bears in watching how well he was liked and received by his USC teammates. On field, everything looked effortless. Williams had a great pro day. It wasn't a show-off day. Some guys go out there and really try to show off. Mitchell Trubisky, I don't think they felt like he needed to do that. Williams' game film shows you more than enough, but Jeremiah said you want to see how the ball comes off their hand. And everything that we looked at, everything that we saw is Caleb Williams is an easy thrower. He has a nice motion, a nice delivery. He has everything that you want to see. It's really important in regards to the quarterback. To be able to make all the throws, to make them look effortless, and to also be able to work effectively with your teammates. And that's exactly what he did. So there's now a 99% estimate here. And he's basically, basically at this point, the Bears are all but locked in on taking Caleb Williams. So if you were looking for a move off of this, I don't think that we're going to see it. So, you know what I mean? And do you guys realize that the early betting odds have us pegged at 8.5 wins? I don't have lofty expectations. I just have playoffs. And by the way, 9 wins, 10 wins got us to the playoffs. So if we barely overachieve, we're a playoff team. The playoff is the expectation. And by the way, we'll see how those odds play out as the season starts to progress. And how accurate Las Vegas is. They're not as accurate as, anyway, so next thing up, DJ Moore is now going to race Keenan Allen. I don't know if this is going to play out the way that I think it is, but DJ Moore is excited for Keenan Allen, and he says that it might be a race to 1,000 yards. He thinks that they are in a position now where they could potentially have 2,000-yard receivers. DJ Moore generated 136 targets, well ahead of second place on the team. Tight end Cole Kmet had 90. Darnell Mooney had just 61. After the addition of Keenan Allen, who saw 150 targets in 13 games, DJ Moore might have to share the ball, or we're going to be throwing it a lot more. The stud wideout said Thursday on 670's The Score that he's not worried about how he and Allen will divvy up the catches. They just want to win. It doesn't really matter to me. I know we've both talked about how we're going to complement each other, so I'm just looking forward to that. It might be a race to 1,000 yard, but that's a friendly competition. At the end of the day, if we're winning, whoever is catching the ball, I don't care. Moore noted that he's pumped to have Allen alongside him in 2024. It was exciting when I saw it and heard about it. I was like, whoa, now we've got more weapons for this run we want to make in 2024 with winning games. Moore continued, his game has spoken for it all. He's a savvy route runner. He sets people up and makes people look silly out there. I'm looking forward to learning from him. So, these guys are starting to come together. Duran Wright says, dude ain't played one NFL game and they're already crowning him. It better be super good too. Otherwise, they're pumping him up for failure. And by the way, that is a problem. That is a problem. And EV, by the way, I'm not saying that the Bears are going to be a Super Bowl winner or that they really even are a contender. I'm just asking the question today. I do think that look, if you get to the playoffs, there is a puncher's chance that you win one game. You know what I mean? Once you win one game, if you get a bye, you win one game, and now you're in the NFC Championship game. It's not that complicated. You know what I mean? Like all you have to do is just go out there and put up some wins when it matters. If this team is clicking at the end of the year, and they were clicking at the end of last year, they didn't finish as strongly as they. I mean, this could have been a 7-1 team that ended up 5-3. I mean, you know what I mean? Like there really was some opportunity here for some big time wins for the Chicago Bears. They just missed when they shouldn't have. So there's some possibility here that this team is a little closer than we think. And yes, he hasn't played in one NFL game. He's going into a lame duck coach. So that's fine. It's going to be difficult. I would like to see, and I think that RG3 said that the possibility of re-signing Matt Eberflus, giving him a contract extension, taking him away from lame duck status would be a nice thing for the team. Doesn't really need to happen, but I mean, again, let's just remember the one thing that's been a problem is Mitchell Trubisky came to a lame duck team, and he didn't perform well. They made it to the playoffs in the first year. They double doinked it with Cody Parkey, and then it was downhill from there. Then the next thing was you brought in Justin Fields, and you had the same thing. You had lame duck coaching, and here we are. So it would be kind of interesting to see to see maybe some continuity, which is what they preached it so far. So maybe that continuity might do something. You know what I mean? You know what? They might. I don't think so. I don't think Caleb Williams cares about that kind of stuff. By all rights, despite that, I mean, guys, we have personal problems with Caleb Williams because he's not Justin Fields. But the reality is, the guy has shown the potential that he has. Realizing that potential, I know it's a different thing when you get to the NFL. I understand that it's a different thing when you get to the NFL. But every single player does this in the NFL, and we find out whether or not they are or are not. Now, I don't think that he's Ryan Leaf. I don't think that he's going to fail as spectacularly as we're talking about there. But there's some questions, and we'll see how he does. We'll see how this offense does. But I think they are in win now mode. We're not going deep in the draft. We're building in free agency right now to add depth to a team. They think that they're ready to compete, and they don't really care. EV Warrior, when you said the Vegas has it at 8.5 wins and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, hey, they think they're a contender. I disagree. I'm actually on your side in this, but I mean, I'm a Bears fan. The Bears fans think that they're the Bears. The Bears front office obviously is working in a method that makes them think that they can be contenders. And part of it comes down to somebody that they met with just recently, which we're going to reveal in just a moment as well. But let's move on. Keenan Allen might not end the receiver hunt, and people are saying that what if they went with the big guy that is out there, and what if that guy is Roma Dunze? What if Roma Dunze is the guy that they're targeting this entire time, available at number 9? Do you take him? That would be the question. You got Keenan Allen on a rental for the next year. So will you re-sign him for a longer term contract? Will you be able to afford him in a longer term contract? I don't know the answer to that. 2-year deal, something like that might be in the cards for Keenan Allen, but I'm not sure. What I am sure of, though, is that there are 3 game-changing wide receivers that are available. You have a desperate need at wide receiver, so it would make perfect sense. But you also have a desperate need at defensive end. So we'll see what the move is. But for the NFL, for the first time, the NFL mock draft database this week was showing 100% unanimous mock drafts for Williams headed to Chicago. The question now is what happens at number 9. One is there's a need for receiver. There's 2 lines of thinking. One is there's a need for receiver from the big 3 to add and make their own big 3. DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, and one of the top draft picks to become that target, not Gerald Everett or Cole Kmet. And then the other choice is a more obvious one, and it's improving the pass rush with a complementary player to Montez Sweat. If there was a Jalen Carter type defensive tackle who is sure immediate success as 3 technique, then this likely would be the aim because of the importance of the Bears' defensive scheme for the interior rush. But there's some decent tackles, but no one is top 10. So that means that you're talking about wide receivers or edge rushers. So the Bears could be cornered into taking Roma Dunze or Malik Neighbors with the 9th pick. It almost sounds comical to say this because prior to their trade of Keenan Allen, the real question for them seemed to be whether they could have a chance to draft one of the top 3 receivers or give them a second downfield target besides DJ Moore. Now it's almost a hindrance if they draft a receiver because of their gaping hole at edge rusher. So here it is. The reason that they might actually wind up using the 9th pick at receiver is number 1, the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta hasn't done anything to address their offense. The Falcons have all the passing game tools now, so they may not be looking for a receiver, which means that one of these guys is going to drop down. Then there's an edge rusher gap. Turner is the best pass rusher, and Jared Verse is not close enough to his overall talent, while the next 2, which are Loatu Latu and Chop Robinson, are picked more often later in the first round. So there could be a plethora still of wide receivers at the 9 selection. The difference between the difference in this situation is basically if Dallas Turner comes off the board, then it probably should be a wide receiver at that spot. You don't want to move down or anything. I mean, you could move down, but that would be to get Jared Verse because Dallas Turner is showing himself to be the elite one. And then if you take Jared Verse instead, there's no consolation prize at wide receiver if you do that. So, the big move would probably be consider this. Keenan Allen's going to be 32 years old when the season starts. He's not getting a long-term contract. Maybe he gets that 2-year extension. It could be one and done. But getting a receiver at number 9 to kind of train under Keenan Allen and get better under Keenan Allen, maybe that's the important part right there. And then consider Caleb Williams. If you bring in a rookie wide receiver along with Caleb Williams, they have a chance to build a connection and kind of develop together. I don't know that you reach down that far and go to Brendan Rice. I think you want one of these elite guys. You want them at the 9 pick. And you can go down in the draft, by the way, and you can get a receiver who's going to be just fine in the NFL, but that's not the point. What you want is you want a game changer. You want a guy who, just for example, let's just say you do a 1-year deal with Keenan Allen, and we're not gonna sign him to a long-term contract. If he's just a rental for the year, then we need somebody for that next year. And why not squeeze it in right now? Now, that does leave us in a bad position, honestly. This leaves us in a difficult, untenable almost situation defensively. However, it must be noted the Bears were still the number 1 defense at stopping the run last year, and they're not going to be worse. Not going to be worse at pass rushing this year. They're going to be as good, if not better. Montez Sweat should improve. Gervon Dexter should improve. Andrew Billing should improve. They're all young. These are all young guys. And then DeMarcus Walker should improve. But no matter what, you have to go back to Andrew Billings and DeMarcus Walker are the best, some of the best run stoppers in the game right now. So, you have one pass rush side, and it would be wonderful if you could get, just some good pass rushing out of Dominic Robinson. I know you're probably not, but it would be good to see it. And it would be good to see that maybe DeMarcus Walker, Montez Sweat work on some technique and they get a little bit better. It would be fantastic to see something like that. And it will change the dynamic of the team. But here's the other part. If the secondary is better and can just stop and do a good job of holding and calling good plays, if they can just do that, then guess what? They're giving that quarterback an extra 0.2 seconds where he's got to, he can't just make those throws. And that's giving the defense a little bit more time and making those moves. Dexter's a big boy, man. I think they're bulking him up. I mean, we'll see when we get to spring camp, but if they're bulking him up because they want him to be that defensive tackle guy, then it'd be difficult to take him to the outside. You know what I mean? Like if he's just going to get bigger. Okay, so for me, it has to be defensive end. We have to have an edge rusher. That's a bigger need of the two. Wide receiver, I still think is I think, you know what I mean? I still think that that's the most important pressing matter is to get that wide receiver, but that's for the future. I would accept that, we move on and next year we get one if we get a draft pick off somebody, something like that. So, anyway, that's what I think is going to happen. I really still think, by the way, that this is the deal, right? The Alabama edge rusher Dallas Turner is meeting with the Chicago Bears. Now, what I think this means is they're doing due diligence, but I think if they do their due diligence, they're going with Dallas Turner, and I think that he represents that guy for the defense. So if they can get him, and I think that at number 9. I think that at number 9, the number one piece that we're going to look for is Dallas Turner. If he's not available, then the secondary option is going to be a wide receiver because they can't both be they can't all be taken in those first 9 picks. Too many quarterbacks, too many receivers. You know what I'm saying? Like there's Joe Alt is still sitting out there and Olu Fashanu. I mean, if you just look at the draft and you say that Caleb Williams, of course, going 1, Drake May probably 2, Jaden Daniels probably 3, Marvin Harrison probably 4. So then you have 5, 6, 7, and 8. You got to fit in quarterback needs for JJ McCarthy. You've got Roma Dunze. You've got Malik Neighbors. You've got Olu Fashanu. You've got Joe Alt. Somebody's falling out of that top 10. Somebody's falling out to that 9 position. So if it's not Dallas Turner, then it's going to be one of those receivers. And I think that we're going to go with whichever one is available. And I think that, I don't think that Malik and Roma Dunze are interchangeable necessarily. I think Roma Dunze is probably the 3rd best. So I think that's who we end up with because I think Malik goes to probably the Giants or somebody a little bit higher up. At least that's what it's looking like. So I think our guy, by the way, make sure you hit the like button on the way in. We got 175 people watching right now. I want to get this up to like 250, but for me to do that, I need you guys to hit that like button. 172 likes is what we're going for. Let's see if we can get there. So anyway, I think that this is the move right here. So they're going to meet with him. They're going to find out what makes him tick, and if he's a quality character that they can get, then I think that this becomes the guy. And I think they're going to also meet with Roma Dunze. I think they're going to meet with Malik Neighbors. I think those are the 3 guys they're going to be targeting at the 9 position. I traded the number 9 for the number 10 pick because it was, it popped up on the radar that it would be available. So I took that and I got a couple draft picks and I turned my draft into a haul. You know what I mean? So with that, let's move on to the depth chart. Now, the depth chart has not fundamentally changed over the last couple days. It really there's nothing that we're doing any differently here. Everything is still seemingly in place. So we got Montez Sweat and DeMarcus Walker. We've got Gervon Dexter and Andrew Billings rounding out the line. And look, I don't have a problem with this. I just think it would be nice to have somebody like Dominic Robinson step up and just become that pass rusher that we needed so that you could swap him out with DeMarcus Walker. Montez Sweat is like an every down guy. You know what I mean? So it would be really good to see DeMarcus Walker just get better. I just hope these guys get a little bit better. Again, here's the thing. If these guys get a little bit better, just a little bit better, then this team is going to be fantastic. Okay. And then Jalen Johnson, Tyreek Stevenson, if they are locked down, like I think that they are, if they are locked down cornerbacks, and Tyreek Stevenson's been really good. But also when you look at that room, then you're talking about Terrell Smith. You're talking about Kyler Gordon. You're talking about a couple of different people who have just been fantastic on this team. And then your Sam, Mike, and Wills are Jack Sanborn, Tremaine Edmonds, and TJ Edwards. And then free safety, Kevin Byard, and strong safety, Jaquan Brisker. This is a really good team. This is a really good team. And each one of these positions, except for defensive tackle at this point, has a little bit of depth. Now, the edge rushers, I guess I should say, the edge rushers have depth right now, but it's not very good depth. So we'll see how that translates. But I don't think, I mean, it's going to have to be done through the draft. It can't be done through free agency because there's no money left. And then next, the offensive roster. I think this is pretty much locked in at this point. You know, Tyler Scott is that number 3 receiver, but I think we're going to do a lot of 2 tight end set. Cole Kmet and Gerald Everett gives us the better opportunity and the versatility that we need to continue to be the number 1 rushing offense and to be able to use. And here's the thing, guys. How good do we think Caleb Williams would be in play action? That's going to be the question. If Caleb Wilson can get people to bite on play action like a real pro, then this could be a fantastic. Look at these wide receiving options. Just consider last year, this same sort of lineup had DJ Moore, Darnell Mooney, Cole Kmet, and Mercedes Lewis. Only 2 of them were receiving threats. Now we have 4 receiving threats. This is a big difference in this offense and the quality of this offense. Now, the line, Braxton Jones and Darnell Wright. And look, I mean, there's, you can have a problem with Braxton Jones, and it's fair to say that Braxton Jones hasn't lived up to the hype, but he's not been horrible. He just wasn't crushing it. So, at some point we have to recognize that Braxton Jones has been very serviceable as a tackle. And if we could get a Joe Alt, if we could find a way to make something like that happen, or an Olu Fashanu, then sure. I mean, you would want to make that move, but it doesn't make us remarkably better like picking up that extra receiver or that edge rusher does right now. I think that those are the most important. And I think that, again, we need some depth at these positions, but that's what Matt Pryor was. That's what Ryan Bates was. I think that we have a much stronger offensive line than we had last year. And I think they're going to potentially, let's just consider this. I think they're going to work better together. I think this team is going to be a much more well-oiled machine, if you will. And I think it's going to be a focus too. So Caleb Williams at quarterback, I mean, we have to assume that's locked in to this point. And then DeAndre Swift at running back. Spelling would be coming from Khalil Herbert, and then Roshan Johnson. Again, I think Roshan and Khalil are great players. DeAndre Swift, I mean, let's see what he does. We need a 1,000-yard rusher to replace. We got to have somebody with an extra 600 yards to replace. By the way, Deonta Foreman signed with the Cleveland Browns, for anybody who was wondering what happened, so we'll see. And Bo Nix is, I don't think so. I think he's a good performer, and in fact, he might be one of those Ben Roethlisberger type. He's a pretty big guy. I think that he's a solid. I don't think there's anything wrong with him fundamentally. I think he's a good quarterback. But we can't move to Bo Nix. Anyway, so let's get into the mock draft. This is what I did, and guys, this is like, God damn it, I got to take I feel like I got to run around my studio and take a victory lap for this one. This is what I came up with the draft. And look at this shit. Like I can't even explain to you. So what I did at number 1 was, of course, I took Caleb Williams. That was the play. That was the move. That's what we did. So then at number 9, when I got to number 9, Brock Bowers was still available. Dallas Turner was still available. Olu Fashanu was still available. I was in this kind of range where there were still some big names available. And I was like, you know what? Let me just see what happens here. And as soon as it popped up, I got a trade offer. Somebody wanted to trade up to the 9 because they wanted Brock Bowers. So I took the trade, but it gave me the number 72 and the number 150 or something like that. So I went with the trade down and crossed my fingers because I knew I was going to get somebody of talent, right? So then I was able to move down to number 10 and get Dallas Turner. Now that took away I have no second round picks. That led me into the 3rd round. When I got to the 3rd round, I took Michael Hall Jr. That's a defensive tackle out of Ohio State. That's MHJ2. And I grabbed him. Again, I don't know. He's a spot relief guy. And we need a little depth, so I took another defensive tackle a little bit later on. But then I took Brandon Coleman, guard from TCU. I took Tanner Bartolini. Again, I don't think that Tanner Bartolini is that center of the future, but he's also a tough run defender, and he's not great against the pass rush, but he's not horrible. So he's on the team. What are you going to do? At number 136, I reached down, by the way. Luke McCaffrey was number 140, but I took Luke McCaffrey at number 136. And I think that that's that guy, the guy that will run across the middle and do that crazy shit. And he's the brother of Christian McCaffrey. So in the event that anything ever happens and Christian McCaffrey's contract is up and he's an unrestricted free agent and he's looking for a place to land, maybe he wants to play with his brother. And his brother is locked up with the Chicago Bears, and we could use a Christian McCaffrey. You know what I mean? He's a game changer. And then at number 150, I took Zach Zinter at offensive guard from Michigan, won a championship. Why not? Then I took Cedric Johnson, the edge rusher from Ole Miss, not because I have any affinity for him. He was just the best available. And then Garrett Greenfield, offensive tackle out of South Dakota State. He's come up on my radar a couple times, and I took him. And then at number 170, because now I have a whole bunch of picks in this range here, I took Isaac Guerendo, running back from Louisville. And if you guys don't know who Isaac Guerendo is, go watch the tape. And go watch the combine. He was crushing it. He was the fastest running back at the combine, and he's a monster. He's a beast. He's got, he's one of those guys with he's one of those guys with the big legs. You know what I mean? That has a lot of stability. Played for Louisville last year, so and that's my home state. So that's my home. That's my home is Louisville. So I always try to take a Louisville guy if I get a lot of picks. And he was. 4-3 was the best for the running back. Like that, if it wasn't the best, it was the second best for the running backs. He was a fantastic guy at the combine. He's just got big legs. And if you go watch him play at Louisville, he just runs over people. He just had he's that big body, and he's got speed. So I don't know if that translates to the NFL. I like to think that it does, because he was only there on a rental, and he was there because was that guy Benson for Wisconsin? That guy Benson for Wisconsin was just a monster. And if you go see Isaac Guerendo, you would be looking at him saying, like, Jesus Christ, this guy could start for any team. Well, yeah, any team except Wisconsin. You know what I mean? So that's why he transferred away, was he wanted to get some playing time. And he ended up at Louisville as a backup, and then ended up pretty much just balling out for the season. So then I took Justin Eboigbe, defensive tackle from Alabama. Again, I'm reaching out into the third, fourth round, looking for some pieces to kind of add in to create some depth. And then I took Hunter Norzad, the center at Penn State. Trey Benson. Yeah, Trey Benson. Who was the Wisconsin running back? Whoever that Wisconsin running back was, that guy was in the way of Ike Guerendo. So that's who ended up. And by the way, just so you guys know, I watch every Louisville game because I love college football, especially University of Louisville. Even though, look, I know they're not a championship team. I know that they're, you know what I mean? My team's my goddamn team. You know what I mean? Or Wisconsin running back is Allen. There you go. He wasn't supplanting Allen in the roster. So Braylon Allen, there we go. He wasn't supplanting him, and he's going to be off the radar a little bit earlier in this draft anyway. So there was no way to get him. But I mean, here, one of those things is that at 170, I feel like Isaac Guerendo might be one of those steals of the draft, like a Roshan Johnson, where, maybe he's not the greatest starter that we've ever seen, but he's gonna knock some people down. He's gonna break some big plays that you don't expect. He's one of those guys with a constant motor, and he's one of those people that drags people with them. You know what I mean? Like in the NFL, does he do that? I don't know, but it was worth taking a shot. So that's what I ended up with. What was 3, 6, 9, 12? I ended up with 12 people, and then I got the 2023 Denver third round. So here's what we got. We got Caleb Williams. We got Dallas Turner. Problem solved. Some of the problems are solved. Then we got Michael Hall Jr. It's he's gonna be a backup on the defensive tackle. But if he gets into the rotation in that first year, along with Zach Pickens, that this might be a much deeper, and Justin Eboigbe, if these guys get a little playing time and give a little bit of relief, then we're fresher in the fourth quarter. I mean, that's what matters, right? So then you have offensive guard and offensive center, Brandon Coleman, Tanner Bartolini. Again, they get spell relief, get worked into the lineup. We got a little bit more depth. You know what I'm saying? Like and Lord Crimson says my magic words here. I want to see what Rojo can do behind a good line. And look, Roshan Johnson to me had more. He had more catches, by the way, than I think we should note this. He had more catches than Darnell Mooney last year, and he's only a part-time running back. You know what I mean? Like, I really like what Roshan Johnson can do. It's the question right now of can he be a blocker? Can he be an every down guy? And at this point, he hasn't been, so we have to think that he's not. The defense. So the defense was the number one defense for the second half of the season in scoring defense. It was the number one rushing defense for the season. So I would say that it was the best of the best. I mean, again, it was the number one rushing defense for the entire season, but it was the number one scoring defense for the second half of the season. So yeah, they were good at the end of the season. You know what I mean? How many times did they get Jordan Love in week 18? Now that I don't know. I feel like they were. I don't know if they even did. It might even have been a zero because, like, I thought. I felt like. I felt like. Why does he have so much time to throw? Like, why are we not being able to get the pass rush and stuff like that? And it's not the defense. It's what you said. It's the offensive line. It's that offensive line. And here's the thing. One sack. Okay. I would agree with that. So, but the thing is, you're not always going to get an offensive line like that. You're going to keep working towards. You're going to keep working towards. You're going to keep working towards it. If one or two of these guys that are on this, I got Brandon Coleman, Tanner Bartolini, Zach Zinter, Garrett Greenfield, Hunter Norzad. Two of those guys make an upgrade in any way on this team. I'm feeling better about where we are. And the thing about it is, I thought that the right side of this line was pretty good. Nate Davis. I mean, you can run through. You know what I mean? Like you have these guys. Remember, this is the number one rushing offense, and we do have to at least consider that some of the problem with this offensive line. Lord Crimson, let me say this because this is going to be wild. Let me be wild, but hear me out. What if some of the problem with that offensive line was just that Justin Fields was not ready to make those quick throws? What if it was easy to hone in and it was easy to run blitzes. It was easy to run at the Bears. It was easy to scheme on the Bears. It was easy to confuse them because of the way we were playing. Maybe that was part of it. So, and be yourself. Nate didn't have a bad season. I mean, some of this has to be on the quarterback. It's if it takes you 3.23 seconds to throw the ball, then we have to respect the fact that that is a problem, a significant problem. If you're releasing at 2.7, like most everybody else, at least in the and by the way, it was average release time. Like it was not even close. You know what I mean? Like it was not even close. So, if you just consider that, the quarterback bears a little bit of accountability for that. And if we're not going to have if we're going to have faster decisions being made, then the offensive line by proxy just became better. It's not as horrible as it had been. Like we have to consider that at least because otherwise, I mean, it doesn't make sense. I mean, what was the average time? Average. Hold on one second here. Average throw time in the NFL. There we go. All right. So the average throw time is 2.7 seconds. The average pressure time is 2.9. And Justin Fields was at 3.23, right? So if that's that's wild, right? I mean, we got to consider that's fucking wild. Like, dun, 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 dun. All right, here we go. This is 23. Yeah, here we go. All right, so we got what? This doesn't even make sense. Anyway, a bunch of part-timers had longer throw times um, than Justin Fields. I mean, that's really what it came down to. Let's look at this real quick here. I'm going to pop this up on the screen so you guys can see it. This is what the fuck is this? Oh, god damn it. Man, I gotta be better. I gotta be better at this goddamn thing. Because I'm pulling up on the wrong tab and everything. Okay, Jesus Christ, get your shit together, Bleeves. What the fuck is wrong with you? All right, here we go. All right, so now pulling it up to the stage. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know. Apparently my brain doesn't work. So this is realistically, this is the idea of the pressure time, right? This is the average time in seconds between snap and throwing the ball or getting pressure. Now, that means if you look at this, right? Um, you have some people down here who played 17 games, like Tua Tagovailoa. 2.1 is the pocket second. Like you have some stuff down here at the top. Nathan Peterman, who by the way was on the Chicago roster at the end of the season. Um, you have Aaron Rodgers, who only played one attempt before. You know what I mean? You have Sam Darnold here, who only had 28 of 46 for 200 yards passing. Then you have the worst performer was Justin Fields, the regular starters, and it was 2.8. And then you got to Lamar Jackson and you got to Russell Wilson at 2.7. These guys played full season. You got Jalen Hurts 2.6, 2.6, 2.6 from Joshua Dobbs. So you see here, like Justin Fields was the guy who took the you know what I mean? It took longer, you know what I mean? And he had 45 sacks, which is the second most in the league after Russell Wilson. Jesus Christ, man. Well, Bryce Young. I guess Bryce Young was the worst. But the point is, the, and by the way, look at the rating here. If you look at the overall quarterback rating, Justin Fields 84, Lamar Jackson 102, Russell Wilson 97, Jalen Hurts 88, Brock Purdy 112, Joshua Dobbs 81. You know what I mean? Like people who played in the game, they don't have that rating. So, if it takes you this long to throw, that's not, you're not helping yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not helping yourself at all in what you're doing. And when you look at some of these other stats and you see like Justin Fields didn't go downfield, big plays. He had far fewer big plays than everybody else at this position. You know what I mean? Like there's a problem here, and we have to recognize. We have to number one, we have to love Justin Fields because Justin Fields was our guy, right? But we have to recognize that there was a problem here, and we were hoping that it would be fixed, but it's not. So now we're moving on. Now we've got a new guy doing his thing. So, we'll see whether or not I think it's safe to say that Caleb Williams is the guy, right? I don't think that we whiff on it the second time, which is what they say. And I got to say that too, even though I fuck up. You know what I mean? I still look, guys, I'm still a Justin Fields fan. So I'm not going to stop being a Justin Fields fan because of this move. But, I think that the Bears are a better team right now than they have been in a very long time. And I think that we have this opportunity to really turn it around. I think the Bears start to surprise people. I'm just going to give you my guess here. I think the Bears start to surprise people early on. We don't know which games are which. We know we got 2 games against Green Bay, 2 games against Minnesota, 2 games against Detroit. If we just consider that we can beat Minnesota and Detroit, and we can split 1 with Green Bay, we're going to win this division. I mean, seriously. And the Bears' pressure time is going to affect Caleb, not Justin. And the thing about that is Caleb Williams is capable of making faster reads, right? That's it. There's all he's able to make and process the game faster than Justin Fields was processing the game. That could be coaching. That might be, that Justin Fields was just, not coached the right way. I mean, it could be a number of things here, but it is still a statistic. So we have to consider that statistic when we're doing anything. So I do think that the Bears are a much better and much improved team from this year to last in terms of depth, in terms of, I mean, I don't know that that's an upgrade at quarterback. I would like to think that it is, but I don't know. I still need to see that play out on the field before I, look, I'm Team Justin because the Chicago Bears told me it's Team Justin now, or Team Caleb now. So I'm Team Caleb for the moment, but I will make it known every single time that my preference that I thought would give us a better shot at the playoffs was going to be Caleb Williams. Okay, like that's it. Guadalberto Garcia, what's going on, my man? Says Chicago Bears will probably win 9 to 10 games this season. That's all they need to win. You win 10 games, dude. I can't keep. It's going to take me a while, Lord, to get over saying Justin Fields. So if they win 10 games, they're a playoff contender. That's the point to it. And Gualberto, I do think that they're going to win 11 to 12 games. I don't think they're going to win 9 or 10 games. And I think that those close games that they lost last year, you tend to reverse those. When it's not working your way, you tend to find a way to become something different. And I think that your results tend to weigh themselves out. So I think we're due for a few of those close wins this time, as opposed to those close losses. I think we're a Keenan Allen, a Caleb Williams, a Coleman Shelton, and a Dallas Turner away from all of those. So that's what I think is going to happen. So you get into that 11 win range. Now you get like a bye into the playoffs. You only have to win 2 games to get to the Super Bowl. And that's where you have the puncher's chance. Can the Bears become a Super Bowl, make it to the Super Bowl? It would be a fantastic run. It would be crazy to think that it could happen. I'm satisfied with the playoffs. I'm satisfied with a playoff win. Not a playoff win. I'm satisfied with getting to the playoffs for this year. If we get a playoff win, that's to the better. That puts us in the NFC Championship game. Again, if we're not in a wild card and we get into the NFC Championship game, if we lose at the NFC, it's fine. It's fine. We got there. It's the getting there that matters. It's being able to go into the playoffs. It's being able to win a game and being able to kind of have that chance to advance. Are we going to beat everybody? I don't. I mean, we're going to lose games. We might lose games that we should have won, but I don't think that we will this year. I think that's the part that changes. So now the Bears are on a collision course with the national with a Super Bowl. The only variable at this point is time. That's from Howard Schnellenberger, former coach at the University of Louisville. And that's it for the show, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate each and every one of you that you take the time to come check me out. Again, on Monday, we will be starting right about now at 10:30. So if you like this content, make sure you hit the like button on the way out. And I will see you guys again. We got content coming out this weekend. We'll be talking about different scenarios for the Chicago Bears. You guys bear down. And I think the future is very, very bright. Definitely a playoff team. The future will tell us whether or not we're a contender.